Hey guys, so welcome into another video. Today I'm going to be talking about 9.2 Feral and basically what is most likely going to be happening with us, what covenants are looking strong, legendaries, talents, all that stuff, and rotationally what we're looking to do and how our rotation is changing slightly as a result of the new stuff that we're getting. This video will mostly be aimed at Mythic Plus Feral Druid, but I will kind of refer to Raid as I see fit. I'm not as well tested in the raiding stuff at the minute because that's going to a lot of the time just come down to direct sims of what's going to be best, and that will be very clear in good time. So I'm not a theory crafter. I'll make that apparent. I'm not a theory crafter. If you want that kind of theory crafting stuff, feel free to go check it out on various websites or Discord servers. But this is just my experiences playing a lot of Mythic Plus because that I can test day to day and quite freely. And we'll kind of jump into it. So starting off with talents, we are now playing this setup specifically in keys. In Raid, you will continue to play this regular setup that we had last season. I feel like you could probably start playing Savage Raw, but I don't think you would play it in general. Maybe on a boss like Zymox where there are intermittent ads, you could probably argue Savage Raw might be a good play if for the guy that's going to be killing the ads, which I doubt it, but argument for it, sure. In general, in keys, this is what you're going to be playing. The reason you're playing Savage Roar is because Savage Roar buffs the Sickle of the Lion damage, which is our Berserk 4-set damage, which, if you haven't seen what the tier set does yet, 2-set, each combo point spent reduces the cooldown of Berserk by 0.5 seconds, so 2.5 seconds per finisher if you have 5 combo points, as well as our 4-set entering Berserk causes you to strike all nearby enemies, dealing 23,000 bleed damage over 10 seconds. This obviously scales off of various things, but notice that this has now changed from when Berserk is finished to entering Berserk. So the bleed now occurs at the beginning of our Berserk. So that's a massive change. Thank you, Blizzard, for doing that and listening to a lot of people's feedback. There are, of course, still bugs with this set, and Sickle is scaling off of various stats in interesting ways, shall we say, and interacting like a feral bleed, but then at the same time not interacting like a feral bleed. It's also snapping and dynamically scaling from Tiger Fury. I think it's like triple scaling from Tiger Fury. But I've been told from some theory crafters that if all of the bugs of feral are fixed, we will have a net 0 change in damage. We will continue to do what we're currently doing, even if things change. So that's cool, but these are our talents. The reason we're playing Predator is because of the new encrypted affix. So bosses are now going to have 4 possible Tiger Fury resets if you're playing Predator, because of the 3 encrypted mobs and then the 1 summoned mob that occurs when you kill the 3 encrypted mobs. And then you get things like massive cooldown reduction if you kill which I actually think could be an interesting reason to continue to play Sabretooth, because if throughout the dungeon you're getting your Tiger Fury cooldown reduced from guy, then you could actually potentially play Sabretooth because you're going to get the reset eventually anyway, quite often in the dungeon. But Predator could be a really, really good play because you're going to get so many general resets, and Predator and Sabretooth are very close when it comes to Mythic Plus, but Predator wins out if you're getting regular resets, especially on bosses. So, and less of our damage is Ferocious Bite focused now. It's more Sickle of the Lion, so we don't care as much about Ferocious Bite damage. So Predator is a good option, but those are our talents. Legendaries, I'm playing Apex in Mythic Plus. It could be played in Raid. Probably any fights where we play Primal Wrath, you would probably opt for Apex because then you'll have access to Funnel, and if you're playing Primal Wrath, then you're probably not on pure single target. Well, you're not on pure single target, so things like Deep Focus are not going to be the play. Frenzy Bend might not be the play. Circle might not be the play. Boom, you can play Apex. So Apex is really good in keys because it gives you Funnel. And Funnel is something that we're not getting anywhere else in our gameplay. A lot of people dismiss Funnel and they go, oh, but you'll bring a sub-rogue, so who cares? And I feel like they are just misguided in that. Funnel is very important in keys. The more you can bring it, the better. And for anyone who doesn't know what Funnel is, it means that when you bring in more targets into a fight, you're ultimately able to direct additional target damage into a single target. So of course with Apex, if we can rip everything with Primal Wrath, then we get more chances of proccing our bite. More bite procs means we can funnel more damage into say a Shard of Halkias or a particular boss, whatever it may be. We can do that. So I think this is really important. If you don't want to play this, if you just want to play for pure overall and have fun, I think Circle will be a really good legendary for pure overall. You could also end up playing Frenzy Band, maybe on Tyrannical weeks. I don't think Frenzy Band will be very good. It's definitely not going to be good for like overall reduction, I feel, of Berserk, and that's not why you would play it. If you were going to do that, you'd probably play Apex because it has better reduction on Berserk. But the bleed of Frenzy Band, I don't like it in AoE, and mostly in Mythic Plus, AoE damage is what counts. So you're not going to swipe during your Berserk window. You could Shred, you could Rake spam. I don't really love any of those options, so I don't feel it's going to be great in AoE. Maybe I'm wrong, but on bosses, it will do very strong damage, and you have that potential. Say on a Tyrannical week, your team says, hey, we got a sub rogue, we're fine on funnel, we got a frost mage as well, we're fine, we need more single target. Feral player, can you go more single target? You go, yep. You go Sabretooth, you go Frenzy Band, and you are killing. You are chilling, absolutely. So those are kind of legendary discussions. In terms of raid, it'll come down to a sim. It'll probably change boss to boss, but it'll either be Apex if we're playing Primal Wrath, most likely. Deep focus on pure single target, maybe. Frenzy Band might outright just be the best for single target anyway, but Frenzy Band will most likely be just the general play, general legendary fight to fight. If there's nothing specific, it might even still be the best on pure single target. In terms of stat weights, you're still going to go Crit Mastery as things stand. Definitely going to go Crit Mastery in Raid. I could see an eventuality where we actually go Haste Verse or like Crit Haste or something like that in Mythic Plus. Originally, when these tier sets were implemented, the tier set Sickle of the Lion couldn't crit, and it didn't scale with Mastery. It is now snapshotting with Mastery. So there's a call, and it is critting now. So there's a call for you to want to crit or to get more crit chance, and there is a call for you to want to play Mastery because it's snapshotting. However, if this gets changed, then in keys where you're trying to amplify your Sickle of the Lion damage, I personally feel that you would want to go for the stats that are going to directly affect that. So if it's only Haste and Verse that are going to be benefiting Sickle, then you might end up going heavier Haste and Verse as a result. But as things stand, Crit Mastery is still the way in keys as well as in Raid. So that's cool. It would be terrible to have two gear sets for Raid and Mythic Plus. In terms of Covenants, I still think that Night Fae is going to be the best. I was doing some testing with a few other Covenants. Venthia's dead. Kyrian might be the play, and it will probably be a case-by-case basis where you can simp with someone if it's best for the team. And the damage was decent. Necro seems like definitely a viable option. I don't know that it's optimal, but I think it's viable. It's definitely a playstyle that you can choose if you want. I think you would still play Apex, even if you go Necro, but you could play Circle as well, and that would be very good. Maysteen was doing some testing as well, and apparently, I haven't heard it directly from him, but people have been saying that Maysteen feels that Night Fae is still going to be ultimately the best option in Mythic Plus. Me and him did some keys together, but they weren't really absolute, because we did dungeons where we had like 30, 40 deaths in them. Plus, when you do dungeons, we had dungeons where at one point we had 3 Feral Druids. It's really hard to analyze exactly which Covenant's better, because it came down to a case of whoever presses their Berserk first in a pull wins. Peaks highest, everything dies, no one else really gets maximum value of their Berserk, and that's kind of shitty. Our cooldowns are all on the same time, because we're all the same Feral, all the same Feral spec, and so it just came down to whoever pressed it first won. So it was very difficult to perfectly kind of test directly, and there's skill differences between us, and there's other factors that are going to be affecting it, and like I said, 30 deaths in each dungeon, kind of difficult to fully outline which is better. But this is probably going to be the play. Dreamweaver looks really good because you can get some big haste here if we weren't going to be scaling from Crit Mastery, but currently we are scaling from Crit Mastery, so you'd still go Nia. But you could go Dreamweaver and you could get the haste here, but I don't. Initially, this was pretty good in PTR, but I don't think this is going to be very good because you have to stand still for 24 seconds, which is not going to happen in Mythic Plus. Could be pretty good in Raid, but I doubt it. I think you'll still just continue to go Nia, because right now our bleed damage is snapping, or our Sickle is snapping with Mastery, so we can just continue to play this. Cool. Like I say, you can go Kyrian, you can go Necro. If you go Necro, you'd probably just go M&I and go for the haste, right? The central soulbind option. That should cover most things. Now we can get into the rotation. I think that's probably a place that we're at. So I told you that we're playing Savage Raw. A big thing with playing Savage Raw, top tip, you can use it when stealthed. So if you build up combo points, you're in stealth, you can use it, and then you can rake and still get your stealth rake opener. Top tip. I didn't realize that until recently. So, you know, you learn something new every day. That's a really cool aspect of it as well. If you're playing with Savage Raw, a big thing to consider is establish your blood talons and 5 combo points when you leave combat. That way you can get to the next pack of mobs, you're in stealth, you can Savage Raw, then you can conduct your rotation, you've already got buff from Savage Raw, and by the time the pack dies, your Savage Raw is most likely only just going to be running out. There's a pandemic window on your Savage Raw as well at 8 seconds, so that is when you can refresh your Savage Raw. If you're in a position, you can refresh it there at 8 seconds. Big. And that'll then add on that time. So when we get into the actual rotation, I mean, let's imagine that let me build up just some combo points. Let's imagine that we've gone from, I mean, this is going to be our AoE rotation. Let's imagine that we've gone from combat. So go into this pack. So I have Savage Raw, boom, we drop that there. Then we can Rake, Thrash, just kind of establish normally. We Tiger Fury. I'll then Convoke. Imagine this is tons of mobs. I'll Convoke to build up the big mastery. Then I'll press my Berserk. That way we're snapping the Sickle ability with both Tiger Fury and with Savage Raw. And so we're maximizing the damage. We've got the big mastery and everything. So cool. And that's pretty much it. Then here I'm going to refresh my Savage Raw. Berserk window's over. It is going to be quite difficult because you're not playing with Sabertooth anymore, and you are playing with Savage Raw. So now you have a new maintenance dot to account for. Oh, sorry, a new maintenance buff to account for, and your rips are not going to be extended from your bites. So it does, I'm finding on single target, I definitely still need to continue to practice that. There are going to be situations like right now, I can refresh my Primal Wrath, but I need to refresh my Savage Raw. Right now, I'll refresh my Primal Wrath, then we'll build up, and we'll refresh Savage Raw, that it's not going to fall off. Oh, and we can Convoke here, cool. I'm going to imagine that we're in large combat here, so you're not going to bother raking. You're not going to bother rake spreading because ultimately you just won't have the energy to do it. And also that's not where the majority of our damage is coming from. We're not playing circle, so we're not as bothered about that stuff. But yeah, on single target, just be aware there are going to be positions where your rip is like 12 seconds off from being needing to be refreshed. And your Savage Raw is going to be probably at something similar, and you're going to go in Ferocious Bite. Don't. Save it, hold, allow your energy to recoup, and instead go and do, wait, and then you can re-Savage Raw, or you can reapply your rip when you can. You're not always going to be able to reapply your rip during your Tiger Fury window, I think, as far as I'm aware. So, or, generally speaking, in most circumstances. So I'll imagine that we're in AoE still. And then you would Convoke, boom, and then you would Berserk. And that's basically just how you're doing your AoE rotation. So you want to Tiger Fury and Convoke before you Berserk. That is the main point. After that, you can Shred Primal. You don't worry about generating Blood Talons and whatnot during your Berserk window. And especially with playing Savage Raw, you're just not going to have the energy to be able to generate your Blood Talons effectively during that window. But that's the AoE rotation. In terms of the pure single target rotation, let's imagine that you're not in keys. Let's imagine that you're just in raid. It's gonna basically just be the same as it was before. Let's imagine here that I don't have 4 combo points. It's gonna basically just be the same. I don't think that you're gonna definitely Tiger Fury before you Berserk, but I don't think that you're gonna Convoke before you Berserk, because I think it's more important, especially since in raid, you're most likely going to be playing something like Frenzy Band, where you are going to do additional bleed damage from your combo point generators, your shreds and your rakes. If you get a 4 shred Convoke, you're going to do a lot of damage from that, And in single target, you're not enhancing the damage of your sickle. In AoE, your sickle does a lot of damage. It does the majority of your damage, 30 to 40% depending on circumstances, right? But in Raid, it's not doing anywhere near as much. It's a 80k damage every 2 minutes, which is equivalent to like 2 bites. I get bites now that crit for like 60, 70k. So it's not really that big a deal when you consider 2 to 3 bites is going to do the same damage as 1 sickle use every 2 minutes. So you want to emphasize the damage of your of your bites. Therefore, you're going to continue playing this like very single target heavy situation where you're playing Saber, you're playing Brutal, Blood Talon, Soul. You're going to play probably Frenzy Band, maybe Deep Focus. If it's a pure single target, we'll see what the Sims say, what the Theory Crafters say. Let's assume this is going to be a setup. You would go into combat, and I'd actually maybe kind of do this establishing combo point thing. You can rip, you can, okay, I actually messed that up. But you would Berserk, and then you would Convoke, right? So the opener is you would go in from stealth, you would break, then thrash, then you can shred, or you can use your brutal slash, probably brutal slash for energy efficiency, and you just establish 5 combo points and your blood talons. You can Tiger Fury, you can rip, then Berserk Convoke. And then during your Berserk window, you're going to play very similar to 9.1.5. All you're doing is shredding and biting. You can bite at 4 combo points. You don't need to get to 5. And you can bite at 25 energy. You don't need to pull during your Berserk window. So shred, bite, 4 combo points, 5 combo points, doesn't matter. 25 energy or 50 energy, doesn't matter. You're not worrying about generating your blood talons during your Berserk window. And then, yeah, everything's just going to be the same. So nothing really changes in terms of your single target rotation. I think you probably are just going to be Tiger Furying before you Berserk based on the current iteration of how Tiger Fury is working with your Berserk, where it's like triple or like double snapping and dynamic scaling as well, right? Or whatever the hell the interaction is doing, we're getting triple benefit from it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys like this video. Just to finish off as well, final things. We're not going to be owl weaving, I don't think, in Mythic Plus. You probably will still owl weave in Raid at very specific situations, but in Mythic Plus, if you're running Apex, you don't want to owl weave, because if you owl weave, you can potentially get an Apex proc and you could miss it, and you're going to ultimately lose more damage than if you're owl weaving. You might still owl weave very specifically in massive pulls, like a big DOS earn pull, but I doubt it being a regular occurrence like it is currently in 9.1.5. General thoughts then, I'll just leave you with this. So I am incredibly happy with how the tier set and 9.2 in general, like double legendaries, is changing the strength of Feral. Yes, there's still number tuning that needs to occur. There's still Frost Mages doing 30k overall. There's still Survival Hunters doing 35k overall. There's Destrolock doing well. There's Rogues still being Funnel Kings, right? Feral is not going to be a new meta spec, but it is going to perform well enough that if you play well, then I think that you will be able to beat people on any spec if the situation works for you, right? Like, if you're playing against a Survival Hunter who's bad, you might be in a situation where you can... Okay, probably... No, okay, that's not a good example. You're not going to be a Survival Hunter. But you might be able... Like, right now in 9.1, if you're playing against any spec on Feral, you're probably just going to lose. Even if you're really good and they suck, you're probably still going to lose because Feral's just not great in keys. But in 9.2, you're going to be in a situation where there's more of a level playing field. The example I'm giving is Feral in 9.1 feels like you're in a pool and you're trying to swim, but someone's got their foot on your head and they're pushing you down. In 9.2, all that's changed is that they've taken their foot off. You still got to know how to swim, right? You still got to do the work, but at least no one's putting their foot on your head, keeping you down, right? That's what 9.2 feels like. It feels like we've added a lot to our toolkit. We've now got burst AoE. We've now got short CDs. We've got funnel. We've still got really good single target. Yes, we're missing some unique utility and whatnot, and yes, we are still missing those things. But in terms of what this tier set is giving to us, it's giving us just the ability to actually earn a good spot, right? Like I did a key yesterday. I was going up against a Windwalker monk who in 9.1 would have absolutely creamed me. I was 200 DPS beneath him. That's it. 200 DPS beneath him, a Windwalker. Now, if you'd asked me if Feral could beat 200 DPS below a Windwalker 2 months ago, I'd have eaten your hand off, or whatever the expression is, right? Fantastic. I'm very happy. I know there's still problems with Feral as a spec. I'm not denying that. I'm not trying to act like there isn't, but just, God's sake, just be happy about something for a minute. At least we're improving. Let's just be positive about that. Yes, there's still bugs that need to be changed, but there are bugs with every single tier set, so we're assuming Blizzard knows that. People are reporting those things, so that's fine. I'm just really excited for, like, Feral is so fun to play. I'm playing Survival right now. I'm playing Feral on PTR. Survival is not as fun as Feral, even though it's doing more damage, because the rotation is jank. Feral's rotation now, it just feels like it just pops. It's just there. We're playing with Savage Roar. It's opened up options, right? We're playing with Predator. We're playing with Savage Roar. We're probably not going to have to Owlweave anymore. There's actually options of, do you want to play Necro? Do you want to play Kyrian? Or do you want to stick with Night Fae? Well, you can. It changes our rotation ever so slightly, but just enough where if you're smart with it, then you're going to outperform Ferals who don't know that stuff. So there's room for growth on it. I don't know. It just feels better. I'm way more positive going into this next patch. Anyway, guys, I know this has been a really long video. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, please come check me out on twitch.tv/cybear_TV. It'll be in the description down below. Check me out on Twitter. I'm going to be doing just some giveaways this week as well on Twitter exclusively. So make sure you follow me there. It's going to be one of the new mounts, in-game mounts, and some other little goodies. So go check me out on Twitter and Twitch. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments anything you're feeling, thinking about Feral, anything you like in this video or didn't like, or things I missed. All right, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.